Friends, welcome back. I'm Tejinder Ladi Singh, and from where we left the last time, we'll continue with the shadows of an object, shades and shadows. Okay, so last we learned about highlights, core shadow, and the halftone. Let's revise what we did last time quickly. Light falling from this direction. Light source, light coming from this direction, falling on this surface.
This is the brightest part.
As we learned the last time. Highlight. This, the darkest part. Where you see the shade is the darkest. This is the core shadow. Now this white, there is again a little shading on this side since this is round, so light will fall directly on one small surface, one small area, since this is a sphere.
Now, because of the curvature, as the surface moves away from the plane of light, it will receive less and less light. So let me explain it to you slightly differently. This is the object, the sphere, and this is the light coming from the left side, falling on the surface along the curvature. Now, since this surface is closest to the light source, and hence it will receive maximum light, so that will be our highlight. As the surface moves along the curvature, here, as the surface moves away from the source of light, the reflective angle will change, and that will affect the gradients of light. Now at this point, the surface is receiving direct light. Beyond this point, it will be indirect light, because the surface is now completely away from the line of light. Okay, now you must be wondering whether this is an art class or a physics class. But let me assure you one thing, physics or not, once you are able to understand the basic fundamentals of lighting, how it behaves when falling on surfaces, flat or curved, it will become much easy for you to make any kind of drawing, shading, painting, because this is the lighting is an important element in a drawing. And if you are able to grasp the relationship between light and shading, you will have no problem in making any drawing, any painting, especially the realistic art. If you place an object in a dark room, will you be able to see it? Obviously, no. It's only when light falls on an object that you are able to see it, because light gives an object form. I am stretching this shading part a bit because I want you to be fully able to understand this one, the most important pillar of drawing and shading. Okay, now so moving on, this is the area which is receiving direct light. So we call it direct light, or in another term, we may call it half tone.
And then we come to the shadow part. Now this is the shadow of an object, and the shape of the shadow will depend on the source of light. How far is the source from the object, or how big is the source, size of the source, and the distance of the light source from the object will determine the shape and intensity of the shadow.
Let's do a practical here. I'm taking a spherical object here, and right now this light, the shadow that you see, is from light coming from outside the room, which is very soft because it is far away. And now if we change this light to something from very near the object, and something from like a torch, which will give it a very hard, not a soft light, let's see what happens. So when we use a torch or a direct light close to the object, you see the shadow is quite hard. It is not feathered. It has very strong and hard outline. And as I change the angle from right above down to the surface, you see the shadow is, it becomes longer.
So basically, highlight, direct light, core shadow, and this is the cast shadow. Light source this side, highlight, direct light, and if you see, this is the core shadow, which is the darkest part, and down here again this is lighter than the core shadow. Why? Because there will be some reflection of light from the surface. This is direct light coming from the source of light, and then there will be light which will reflect from the surface. That will be the indirect light. So there will be reflections from here to the object, from down upward towards the object. Now this will be reflected lights. Indirect lighting, it will reflect back onto the object. We will just do it practically in a while. Just give me a minute. Closest to the object, it will be darker. Why? Because technically this is the area which will receive almost no light.
Because light in this space will be fully blocked by the object.
There is a term for this shadow, and that is occlusion shadow. Occlusion simply means completely blocked. Now these are the almost all the basic terms that you need to know, the basic shadows and the effect of light on an object that you need to know before moving on to shading seriously.
So my dear friends, this will be all for this video, and because I want you to fully grasp the content of this video before moving on to the next part. So we'll meet soon in the next episode where we'll learn more about shades and shadows. Thank you for watching, and you all take good care of yourself.